in his class yesterday, beaten by Chris Froggatt. In terms of qualifying, the roles were reversed, with Jan Dennis taking P1 in qualifying in class and Chris Froggatt taking P2. So the formation lap is underway then. Alessandro Vezzoni, there's Sam Smith, there is Jens Liebhauser. Jens Liebhauser, champion in the AM Challenge last year. There, all the social media at the top left-hand side of the screen for you. You're going through turn 1, heading towards turn number 2. The Luco turn through this chicane, which is started with Luco, ending with Poggio Secco. Then it's up to the next chicane, which is turns 4 and 5, Materazzi and Borgo San Lorenzo. From there, it's a short straight, going downhill towards Casanova and then Savelli. As I mentioned right at the beginning of the program, the track is quite undulating. Some certain elevation changes and very sweeping turns. It's quite a technical circuit to get the best out of it, and overtaking is not easy. Head towards turn number 8, which is Arrabbiati 1. Closely followed by turn number 9, which of course is Arrabbiati number 2. Look at the number 85 car there of Bottaliccio. And drive uphill once again, heading towards yet another chicane on this circuit. The turns 10 and 11, Scarperia and Palagio, which have caused a number of track limits issues when it's come to qualifying and also in the race as well. It's the exit of turn number 11 where the problems seem to occur. And just before we get there, the safety car picks them up. As you can see, we're on board with the Hublot safety car right now, taking these cars around on their formation lap. All champing at the bit behind the safety car, ready to get this race underway. And there, the marshal instructs all the drivers to grid up and line up behind the safety car. Buccini turn is the final turn, turn number 14. It's quite an elevation change there as you go downhill, and the downhill momentum pulls the car to the outside of the turn number 14. We let the music once again build the excitement ahead of the 30-minute race to come for Trofeo Pirelli in the Ferrari Challenge. Cars speed up, the lights go to green, and let's go racing. Bjorn Grossman and Niklas Nielsen, a drag race to turn number 1, but Niklas Nielsen will have the inside line. Can Bjorn Grossman do anything on cold tyres around the outside? Well, he's got his nose just in front at the moment. He'll try and get a switch back now, potentially, if there's room for him to get underneath the Niklas Nielsen car, but Niklas makes the car very wide, and that means that Bjorn Grossman is denied. Alessandro Vezzoni trying to make moves up the order. So too is Sam Smith. Sam Smith and Jens Liebhauser are having a real ding-dong battle there. So it is Niklas Nielsen that leads from Bjorn Grossman. Alessandro Vezzoni is P3. Then is Jens Liebhauser and Sam Smith side by side. And Sam Smith has got the better of Jens Liebhauser, who fights back now, but does lose out. So Sam Smith then heads Jens Liebhauser and puts himself in P4. There is Jan Dennis and Martin Nelson, two of the protagonists in the AM category. Chris Froggatt then has got the car of Gioga ahead of him. So as the cars make their way through the first sequence of turns, already Niklas Nielsen trying to stretch his legs and build up a little bit of a comfort cushion between himself and Bjorn Grossman, who is running in P2. Alessandro Vezzoni kicks up a bit of dust into the windscreen of Sam Smith, who's running P4. Then it is Vincenzo Pollaccio. And There we can see Christian Overgaard and the number 81 car of Fabian Volvend. Christian Overgaard ahead of the lady at the moment, but this is our race leader and our P2 driver. Then P3 is Alessandro Vezzoni, then it's Sam Smith in P4. All pro drivers topping the top 6 places at the moment. And Christian Overgaard there losing out to the Fabian Volvend car. The number 81 car goes past Christian Overgaard in car number 45. So 1 lap in the book. And we're tracking the Sam Smith car. There goes our race leader, P2. And here comes Sam Smith, who's trying to pressure Alessandro Vezzoni now for a P3 position. Alessandro Vezzoni, very experienced here at the Mugello circuit, knows this circuit very, very well indeed. Just gets a little bit of a wobble on the car there. That compromises his entry into the first chicane. Sam Smith is all over the back of Alessandro Vezzoni. Can he find a way past? It's notoriously difficult to overtake here at the Mugello circuit, but you have to say, just looking at the performance of that number 92 car, he's got the pace in the car. And there you can see some of the battles right at the early stages of this race. And that was Sam on the inside of Jens Liebhauser. Jens Liebhauser did fight back here. Thankfully, he dialed out of it before any further contact between the two of them. I think it was 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Sam Smith taking perhaps a little bit of a liberty there to try and get on the inside of Jens Liebhauser. And then eventually he did manage to find his way through, not before Jens Liebhauser made 1 or 2 little love taps on the side of the Sam Smith car. But he remains now behind Alessandro Vezzoni. And Vincenzo Podoliccio then in car number 85 is in P5, as moving up the order is Chris Froggatt then, who gets ahead of the number 78 car of Joga. There you can see Chris Froggatt, the British driver, now can chase down Martin Nelson, who was very much one of his enemies in the racing last year. Him and Chris Froggatt and Martin Nelson had some fantastic battles together. Fabian Volvend then continuing to make her way up the order as well. Another good overtake potentially here from Fabian Volvend. The fastest lap, incidentally, has come from Bjorn Grossman, a 1:51.657. So drag race to turn number 1 now. Fabian Volvend on the outside, which is disadvantageous unless can really get a car length ahead, and is unable to do so, but keeps the foot in, and this would give the inside for the next turn, and that is a brilliant move. It worked from Fabian Volvend, or has it? No! They really are so close together, but in the end, Joga then was able to squeeze out Fabian Volvend, who of course is having to defend, or think about defending as well, has Henry Hassid right behind. Wow, great racing so far, and we're only 5 minutes into this 30-minute race. Alessandro Vezzoni just beginning to eke out a bit of a gap over Sam Smith at the moment in the number 92 car. There is Sam Smith, who's currently running in P4. The first 6 places all occupied by pro drivers. The best of the AMs is Jean Danis, then it's Martin Nelson, then it's Chris Froggatt. So Niklas Nielsen then 7/10 over Bjorn Grossman, which is not as much as he had yesterday at this stage in the race. So Bjorn Grossman is certainly matching, if not bettering, Niklas Nielsen's lap time. The last lap, Bjorn Grossman was marginally faster. We are talking about a 10th, but a 10th is everything. There is Martin Nelson with Chris Froggatt still behind, but this is the leader in the AM race. It's Jean Danis for Scuderia Prague, and here comes Sam Smith with a go on Alessandro Vezzoni. He's getting the toe off the back of the number 27 car. Hopefully we'll cut back to that battle as they head in towards turn number 1. Sam Smith now, if he can get enough momentum and hold on to that momentum and find the grip around the outside. No, he looks for the switchback to go to the inside, but that gives him the outside for the next turn. So Sam Smith and Alessandro Vezzoni battling hard. Smith then onto the rumble strips and the curbs. He's right alongside Alessandro Vezzoni, who's going to be the winner of this little battle. They are utterly side by side. There is nothing between the two of them. Sam Smith clearly got the pace in the car, but he's taken an awful lot out of the tyres in the battle with Alessandro Vezzoni. And that could come back to haunt him towards the end of the race. So Vezzoni for now remains in that P3 position, but Sam Smith is hounding him. And Podoliccio is behind Sam Smith as well. Isn't close enough really to trouble him, so Vezzoni maintains his position in P3. Yeah, the Formula Racing team look on. Here's Sam again, all over the back of the Vezzoni car, just trying to provoke a mistake from Alessandro ahead of him, but hasn't happened so far. Through this very fast chicane, turn number 13, the Biondetti turn, and then into Buccini, and he will try and line Alessandro Vezzoni up once again. Can he get to the inside now? Vezzoni leaves a gap. Smith is right alongside him. Now, once again, it's the long drag as they touch side by side. Vezzoni defends. Smith tries to attack as they head towards turn number 1. They'll rise uphill now before it dips down again into the turn number 1, the right-hander, and again Vezzoni has got the inside. There's contact between himself and Smith. That allows the number 85 car of Podoliccio to get ever closer. And again, Sam is doing everything he can to try and find a way through, but he could leave himself very, very open to an attack from Vincenzo Podoliccio, who's now right on the back of Sam Smith. And also coming into that battle too now is Jens Liebhauser, the German driver in car number 44. So this is really shaping up to be a fantastic battle. I have to say, the cork in the bottle at the moment is Alessandro Vezzoni. So Vezzoni, wherever he puts the car, Sam Smith is there. Vezzoni's rearview mirror is full of the all-yellow number 92 car, trying desperately to find a way past and take away that P3 position of Alessandro Vezzoni. Since the start, Podoliccio has moved up from 7 to P5, Nelson from P11 to P8, and Henry Hassid from P16 to P12. And now Vezzoni leaves another gap, and Sam Smith doesn't need asking twice, but he didn't quite have the grip to be able to make it work. This is very, very hard work for Alessandro Vezzoni, who's having to defend so hard. Smith is nothing like as close to Vezzoni now, and Smith loses out. Now, he must have a problem with that car because he's lost 2 places all in one hit. Oh, yeah, you can see some smoke coming off the back. So Sam Smith then, oh, what a shame, because that was such a fantastic fight. Now, trying to ascertain whether he has a puncture, and that's the tyre rubbing on the bodywork. It certainly looks ill handling now, doesn't it, by comparison to where it was previously, but he's keeping with them, to be fair. I think it is. There's some loose bodywork there, and Jean Danis and Sam Smith are side by side there. Jean Danis, of course, is leading the AM class and doesn't want to get involved, and I'm sure it's bodywork rubbing on the rear tyre. And he's just taken that place back from the number 85 car and then loses it again as they both run wide, and they're into the gravel. Podoliccio deeper into the gravel than Sam Smith. Smith does recover. Podoliccio has got to go through the gravel, across the grass, and then rejoin on the tarmac without. He's lost a huge lump of places there for Vincenzo Podoliccio. And so too has Sam Smith, to be fair. Here we can see again there was contact between the two of them. And I think that, oh, well, there you can see, and it was there was a bit of contact by Podoliccio to Smith going into that turn, and then a little bit of payback perhaps from Smith and onto Podoliccio, and they both ended up in the gravel. Clearly, the number 92 car is not where it was in terms of pace. Whilst all that has been going on, Niklas Nielsen has been increasing his margin over Bjorn Grossman, and is now consistently lapping quicker than Grossman, where it was the other way around. So the incident involving cars number 92 and 85 is under investigation, and I'm not surprised by that, to be fair. So we have 4 drivers, P1 through to 4, all pro drivers. Then Jan Dennis is the best of the AMs. Chris Froggatt is ahead of Martin Nelson. And those are the 1, 2, 3 in terms of the AM drivers. There is Bjorn Grossman then for Octane 126. And as you can see, Niklas Nielsen has just got his head down and is some 7/10 quicker on the last lap than Bjorn Grossman, which is why he's able to increase that margin to something like just over 2 seconds now between our race leader and the P2 driver, Bjorn Grossman. Alessandro Vezzoni, of course, the big battle he was having with Sam Smith. He remained resolute in his defence and still finds himself P3. Jens Liebhauser is a couple of seconds behind him, so Vezzoni at the moment will be out on his own, and he can just afford to relax a little bit from the torrid few laps he had in having to defend so very, very hard. But as they've been fighting, you can see now the gap is huge between P1, P2, and then into shot now comes Alessandro Vezzoni, who is a full 13 seconds behind Nielsen and Grossman. So just proves how, when you're starting to fight, how that really, really does take it out of your lap time. Jan Dennis then, first pole position, and is P1 in the AM classification. So there is Jan Dennis for the Scuderia Prague team. First time back in the Ferrari Challenge for some seasons, and has taken to the 488 car like the proverbial duck to water. Here is Chris Froggatt, who is currently P2 in the AMs, and Martin Nelson is P3 for Scuderia Autoropa. So there is the Chris Froggatt car. We're just seeing John Sawbridge, who's another British driver, dropping out of the order, dropping way down the order, whether he's had an off. And a drive-through penalty for car number 92, Sam Smith. There's Martin Nelson. You can see on screen the confirmation of that drive-through penalty for Sam Smith in car number 92. So adjudged by the race stewards to warrant a drive-through penalty. So where he is at the moment, he's running in P9 in the race overall, and is behind Fabian Volvend and ahead of Henry Hassid. But within 3 laps of being notified of the drive-through penalty, Sam Smith has to come in and serve it. So unfortunately that will drop him right to the back of the pack. Certainly eventful and lively race so far in the Trofeo Pirelli, and we are about at half distance. The left-hand side of the screen is the race order, as you can see, and who's done what and where. Nielsen, Grossman, Vezzoni have all remained in the same places. Up 1 goes Liebhauser, up 1 goes Jan Dennis, up 2 Chris Froggatt, and Martin Nelson also moving up the order as well. And here a replay of the incident. No, this is different. This is Alessandro Vezzoni and Sam Smith. And Podoliccio, who's right behind the Sam Smith car. This was Sam desperately trying to find a way past Alessandro Vezzoni. There was the contact between Sam Smith and Podoliccio. In fairness, there was contact the turn before with Vincenzo Podoliccio on Sam Smith. But there we are. The race steward will have looked at every element of that little coming together and have adjudged Sam to be deserving of a drive-through penalty. Niklas Nielsen continues to extend his margin up front. It's now 2.2 seconds ahead of Bjorn Grossman. Niklas Nielsen made his debut in the Ferrari Challenge at this very circuit here in Mugello at the end of last year at the Finale Mondiale event, and had two very, very successful races. And I think I'm right in saying it will be 4 wins out of 4 starts for Niklas Nielsen if, come the checkered flag, he is still in that P1 position. 4 consecutive wins. Very, very impressive. So the battle for P5, Fabien Volvend, Sam Smith and Henry Hassid. Fabien Volvend flashing lights furiously at Martin Nelson ahead. Martin Nelson, of course, in a different category, is in the AM category, but nonetheless, Fabien Volvend trying to find a way past the Scuderia Autoropa driver, Martin Nelson. And whatever issue Sam Smith had with the handling of the car, and I think it was bodywork on the rubber, seems to have gone away now, although he doesn't quite have the pace that he did have. And of course all of that is academic anyway, because he's got to go into the pits and serve a drive-through penalty. He's chosen not to do so on this lap, and I think his next lap is the last chance for him to go in. Maybe one more after that, possibly. Depends where he was when the notification was given. But Fabien Volvend on the inside of Martin Nelson. A little bit of contact on the two of them. That's left Fabien Volvend vulnerable to Sam Smith, who will have the inside line now. So Fabien Volvend in trying to find a way past Martin Nelson has lost out on a place and now finds herself vulnerable to Henry Hassid, the Charles Pozzi driver, who's all over the back end of Fabien Volvend trying to find a way past that car. Hasn't managed to do so. Henry Hassid all over the back of Fabien Volvend's car. Martin Nelson is able to rub his hands with invisible soap just for the moment and say thanks very much, that's taken the pressure off of me. And of course, for all of Sam Smith's fighting, it's all completely academic because he's got to serve a drive-through penalty. And I would have thought that Octane 126 would have made Fabien aware of that so as not to fight him too hard, because it's utterly pointless. And what it has done by her fighting, it's not only that she lost a place, although she'll regain that place when Sam serves his drive-through penalty, of course. See, here you can see Martin Nelson is clearly letting Sam go because there's no point fighting with him. And not going to get involved in a fight because it's utterly academic. And here comes Fabien Volvend now on Martin Nelson, which is as it was, really. So does Sam come off the back of the Buccini turn and turn into the pit lane now? Yes, he does. So serves his drive-through penalty, leaves these three to fight amongst themselves. Martin Nelson leading Fabien Volvend, and then it's Henry Hassid, who is P9. And Fabien Volvend once again all over the back of the Martin Nelson car. Sam Smith does drive through the pit lane to take his drive-through penalty. And Martin Nelson, meantime, continues to defend against the lady racer Fabien Volvend, who became the first ever lady last year at Imola to take an overall victory in the Ferrari Challenge, and has Henry Hassid very much for company at the moment. 10 minutes of this race remaining. Here comes Henry Hassid then, again, all over the back of the car, just trying to encourage a mistake from Fabien Volvend, provoke an error that will allow just a little bit of a gap. And once Henry Hassid has seen a gap, he will go for it. Make no mistake. Henry Hassid and Johnny Lawson had some real battles together in last year's campaign. Here comes Fabien Volvend on the inside of Martin Nelson now. Through lap after lap after lap after lap of trying, she's done it. She has got past the Martin Nelson car, and here comes Henry Hassid now. Now, please bear in mind that Fabien Volvend is even in a different category to Martin Nelson. I think Martin Nelson very much driving with some sense here, not getting involved in these pro battles, because even though it's the honour of where you finish in the race overall, it's where you finish in terms of your classification that matters. So Martin has allowed Henry Hassid through as well to chase down Fabien Volvend. The order then is Nielsen, Grossman, Vezzoni in the pros, and it's Danis, Froggatt and Martin Nelson, you see, even where he is on track, which is a P9 position now. he still is banking himself a good podium in his class because he's P3 in the AMS. And Martin very much using the car of Henry Hassid ahead to track him through. John Dillon, the number 61 car, back out on track, and Sam Smith just ahead of that now. Sam Smith has returned P14 in the race overall. P8 in the pro category. There is Chris Froggatt, who is currently P2 in the AMS, is P6 in the race overall, and we have just 8 minutes of the race remaining. So the gap between Danis and Froggatt, as you can see, is 1.88 seconds. So Jean Danis has done a very, very good job here. Did a good job in qualifying, all the hard work in qualifying, and has not looked troubled for the lead of the AM class, and has kept right with pack in front of him. Jens Liebhauser is P4. How close Liebhauser is to Vezzoni, will within 7/10 now, so Liebhauser will fancy his first podium perhaps, but he's got to dispose of the Alessandro Vezzoni car first of all. So the number 78 machine of Goga that was playing such a part in some of the battles earlier on, very close to Christian Overgaard in the number 45 car. There is Christian Overgaard. Battle for P4 in the AMS between Christian Overgaard and Goga. Then into the Buccini final turn here at Mugello. Christian Overgaard holds on to that inside line and heading up towards the start-finish line. Goga getting the benefit of the toe off the back of the number 45 car. Will try and come out of the slipstream and try and get to the inside, and Christian Overgaard has left a big door there, but he's got sufficient, or has he? No, I think he made a mistake there, carrying too much speed into turn number 1. That left himself vulnerable. The gap was there. If he'd have managed to maintain the momentum, that would have given him the inside for turn number 2, but it was all too late because the overtake was done before then, and Tommaso Rocca, we can see just behind the very full picture there, and we go on board with Tommaso Rocca, the Rosso Corsa driver now, who is running P6 in the AM class. Just under 6 minutes of the race remaining here at Mugello. The race being led by Niklas Nielsen by some 2.5 seconds over Bjorn Grossman, and then Alessandro Vezzoni. And interestingly, last time around, Liebhauser was quicker than Alessandro Vezzoni, so I think there might be a fight on for P3 before the end of this race, although we're running out of laps, so Jens Liebhauser needs to start his attack sooner rather than later. So great onboard footage from the Tommaso Rocca car, chasing down Christian Overgaard. For P12 in the race overall. Tommaso Rocca is currently sitting P13 through the final chicane. Oh, and that's a big moment there, but well held. It was Fabian Volvend. Very well to save that. Just got onto the grass and then through the gravel, and the car reacting accordingly. Right, now, is this battle on between Alessandro Vezzoni and Jens Liebhauser? Not at the moment, I wouldn't have said. And Danis is keeping Jens Liebhauser keen. Now, of course, they're in separate classes. There is Jens Liebhauser. Was so dominant last year, took the Trofeo Pirelli AM Championship. So the Jens Liebhauser car. There's Alessandro Vezzoni, and Vezzoni has increased his margin. Looking back from Jens Liebhauser at Jean Danis. Danis then who pole position in the AM class. Froggatt could throw a surprise here, because the more these two are fighting, that's allowing Chris Froggatt to come back into this battle. And this battle is for potentially, or it could become, for the AM lead, because Jens Liebhauser is slowing Jean Danis. That's allowing Chris Froggatt onto the back of Jean Danis. So with 3.5 minutes left, it's going to be tight, but Chris Froggatt will sense there's an opportunity here to convert P2 in the AM classification to P1 potentially. I would say that Jens Liebhauser has taken so much out of his tyres in the early stages of this race. You'll recall that he had contact with and a real battle with Sam Smith, that the car probably hasn't got quite the same pace as Jean Danis. So now Danis all over the back of Liebhauser. Chris Froggatt getting ever closer to Jean Danis now. So the battle for P3 in the race overall. So Alessandro Vezzoni, who's done some really hard defending during the course of the race, and has had to do some really hard defending during the course of the race. He continues to have to do some really hard defending. So the battle for P1 in the AMS is between Chris Froggatt and Jean Danis, but Chris isn't close enough yet. Really needs, what he needs here is for Jens Liebhauser to get on the back of Vezzoni and for the whole lot to bunch up. That would gift him the opportunity to get closer to Jean Danis. So Vezzoni, Liebhauser, then it's Danis, and then it is Chris Froggatt. So there is the British driver, who's currently P2 in the AM race, being led by the yellow car ahead of him of Jean Danis. Now Chris Froggatt does just inch a bit closer to Jean Danis, but we're on the final lap. So he's going to have one more lap in which to do this. Now I think the gap is just, unless there's a mistake from Jean Danis, then I'm not sure Chris is going to be able to do it on pace and pace alone. We will see. Here comes Alessandro Vezzoni. Here's Jens Liebhauser. Jean Danis to the inside of Jens Liebhauser now. Not quite close enough, or is he? Now this slows both of them and should allow Chris Froggatt to get ever closer. Jean Danis wasn't successful in trying to find his way past Jens Liebhauser. And it plays into the hands a little bit of the driver of the number 93 car, Chris Froggatt, because he is able to get closer now, but the opportunities for overtaking are so hard to find here at the Mugello circuit, as Niklas Nielsen, who once again has been utterly flawless in his driving and has led Bjorn Grossman from the off, is heading towards making it 4 wins out of 4 starts, which does eclipse 2 seasons, it has to be said, because he took 2 wins here at the end of the season last year. And we're back in Mugello for the start of the 2018 racing season. But nonetheless, wins are wins, and Niklas Nielsen has one more turn to do before seeing the checkered flag for the 4th time in his Ferrari Challenge racing career for Formula Racing. Niklas Nielsen once again will be victorious and takes the win at Mugello, followed by the German driver Bjorn Grossman, who takes P2. The Formula Racing team are very happy. And then there's this big battle, which actually promised so much and delivered so little in the end. Alessandro Vezzoni and Jens Liebhauser are going to go for a last dash lunge. Well, I think he thought about it and then actually lost out in terms of grip. So Alessandro Vezzoni will take P3. Jens Liebhauser will be P4. Jean Danis will be P5, which is P1 in the AMS. Chris Froggatt will take P6. It's been a stellar performance from Henry Hassid, who will cross the line P7, moving up from grid position P16 to P7 in the race. Great driving from Henry Hassid. Fabian Volvend will take P8. Vincenzo Potoliccio takes P9. Martin Nelson banks another podium in the AMS. It's P10 in the race, but P3 in the AM class. Wow. What a Trofeo Pirelli race that was. We're on board with Thomas O'Rourke looking at the Christian Overgaard car. And the marshals wave the flags at the end of that 30-minute Trofeo Pirelli race. Jens Liebhauser did everything he possibly could, but in the end it wasn't enough. But Niklas Nielsen, another utterly faultless drive for Formula Racing, and he banks yet another win.